People have asked me why I built a cabin up the mine rather than just drive this bus there, because this already has everything we need. Well, that's easy. This needed a little bit of fixing, and building a cabin sounded like fun. But now, let's head to doing a little bit of fixing and get this up there, because that has a bathroom in it. I've been told that's important. I noticed a little bit of a leak in this area. The leak was coming from right there. It looks like this tank is cracked. And the reason I really didn't want to deal with that is the black water tank. That is my least favorite tank of all the tanks on this bus. And now I gotta fix it. It appears this tank was cracked before and someone already patched it. So I've got to take off the old patch and then do a better job. I think that's a crack right there. The good thing about this leak, it gave me an excuse to buy a tool I wanted for a while. This is a plastic welding kit. I should be able to fix cracks in plastic pretty well with this, I hope. What we've got is an electric gun and some little metal wire bits. And these wires are bent up in all different shapes. There's bags and bags and bags of them. I got the full-blown everything kit. And you take the little wire staple, shove it in the end of the gun, and now it electrifies these two, heats that up, that melts into the plastic, and then you leave it there. Might actually be getting the hang of this. They seem to be sticking in a little better. Big thing is you push them in, let go of the trigger and let it cool down before trying to pull it out. And it seems to work pretty decent. We just snip off the end of the staples. Now they have a little flat paddle bit. I should be able to fill in that crack all the way now that it's reinforced. This is another one where smell-o-vision would be a really bad thing. I have a feeling there's some residue in this crack, which is a bad joke in of itself. It sure doesn't smell pleasant. The kit came with a bunch of different filler rods for different type of material. Let's see if we can add a little material in here. Yeah, I'm getting there. It's not pretty, but that doesn't concern me at all. As long as it doesn't leak, I'm happy. I put a lot of miles in this bus, so it's time to do an oil change. I already warmed this up, so hopefully everything goes smoothly. Oh yeah, just nice normal oil. No chunks, no water, just normal oil. It's kind of refreshing. There should be 3 gallons in here, so we're going to let it drain for a while. I'm going to go the extra mile in this oil change and remove the entire pan. The reason I'm pulling off this pan is this dipstick right here. It has markings for where the oil level should be and a file mark added. And apparently it's always been filled up to the file mark, which is well above the actual marks on the dipstick. I made a point of completely ignoring this on our drive across the country. Engine oil looks good. I don't know why the dipstick was remarked, and I don't know how much oil this engine is supposed to take. My dad's always been putting 3 gallons in it, so I was trying to figure out which pan it had and if I could identify it. Then I found there's a lot of different pans available for this engine, with a lot of different capacities, and 3 is one of the smallest ones. The most common size I found is this one. There's the part number 3915703. It was so common, it only cost me $100 including shipping. This pan is 3 3/4 gallons, with a filter 4 gallons even. So not only will I know how much capacity it has, it'll hold another gallon. So I think this pan will be an improvement. Let's take a look at what we got while we're here. But there is the underside of a Cummins 6BT. Here is my dipstick of unknown depth. Now I don't see any debris in the oil pickup, and the pan looks really good too. I don't see any major issues at all. I didn't expect any, but I'm glad to see that everything looks okay. Just gonna have a lot of gasket scraping to do. This is one of my favorite gasket scrapers. It's a putty knife, but I rounded the corners and dulled up the edge so it doesn't scratch up anything. Now you definitely want the oil pickup in oil, so that has to be below the oil level. And we got a big chunk there, that's fine. The other thing is the crankshaft. You don't want the oil level so high the crankshaft hits it, because that'll put air in. And that mark up there looks like the crank would have been in the oil. Those original marks here are definitely below the crankshaft. So the original marks are definitely the way to go, and that mark and where the bus was when I got it is definitely over full. So now I know. There's the part number on the old pan. Of course, it's stamped on the inside, so you can't see it until you take it off. You can see the difference in the sump. That one's a lot shorter. This one goes forward another 3 inches or so. Depth looks the same. Looks like we're just going to add capacity. Everything else is the same. Now that I know the part number on this pan, I know that this is for a 89 to 93 Dodge, like this truck, which does hold 3 gallons. Still don't know where that file mark came from. But I do have a spare pan for this truck. Which is good because this pan is way more expensive. And more oil in the bus. All the bolts are in. I'm just sighting through it to make sure the gasket looks flat everywhere. Looks like we're okay. New filter going in. This should be the extra quart of capacity to bring us up to a full 4 gallons of oil in the system. This is a mechanical gauge that is over 30 feet away from the engine. It might take a while to pressurize that tube. Oil system is working. When I was working on the oil pan, I noticed a drip over here. And that is diesel fuel. And that is a diesel fuel tank. I think I can see lines in there. I'm betting one of those is leaking. So we're going to pop off this panel and take a look. The world needs more access panels. There's a line. And something weird. All right, let's figure out what's going on here. I think I found my leak. Wipe it dry. Yep, there's our leak. This lump is a big wad of silicone. I think it was there to protect that rubber line from that sharp corner, which it didn't really do. Since that's a known problem area, I found a steel fuel line in my stash. I'm going to use this piece of steel and replace the entire rubber section all the way to the next access panel. Just have to straighten out a few of these bends. Got my line mostly straightened out. Made some bulges with a double flaring tool. Think we're ready to install. Fuel started pouring out, so now I have to hold the end of the line. I came up with some way to plug this without letting go. I cut off an extra piece of line. Got a rock on the ground here. All right, got the rock jammed in the piece of tubing. The piece of tubing on the hose, and let's do this fast. Now we have a steel line the whole way next to this radiator. Use a few bits of radiator hose and some heater hose to protect those lines from rubbing anything. I think we're in good shape now. Can button this all back up. The house battery's been running dead. I'm not sure why. It's like they've been leaking voltage somewhere. I have 2 12-volt batteries in parallel. It's just sitting here, they both go dead. So now I've disconnected the two. I've had this one on a charger for 2 hours. We only got 9 volts on it. So now I've isolated, I'm going to switch over to this one and see if this one will take a charge. This one I've been trying to charge all day and it won't take a charge either. Now that I have the charger off, it appears to be hissing slightly. That's probably not a good thing. I got a replacement and I just threw this in. I'm going to try just running off one replacement. Can't see it with the light on, do it with the light off. But it doesn't seem to be turning anything on. This has got to be drawing some power, so I'm not going to put it on for now. I've got 2 more to try here. No sparks. 1 more. That turns on the interior lights. The problem might be with whatever's hooked to this. We're just going to hook up these 2 for tonight. This is house lights. This is the generator. This one goes to our charging system, so we'll deal with that in the morning. That battery ran on the charger overnight. Everything looks great with it. So the problem is somewhere in this system. Now I've got a positive going to a bunch of connectors here and then going up. So let's figure out where all this stuff goes and which one's the problem. I hooked up my meter so it's reading amps. When I hook it up, I get a spike of power, then it goes away. Now I took off all those electrical connectors. Got nothing on this one, nothing on that one. Try this main one, and it's happening there. That wire goes to here. This is my main disconnect for the inverter, and this is my alternator feed. I had recently installed this unit. It was rebuilt and meant for one-wire applications. The inverter's already switched off, so let's see what this alternator is doing. I brought my alternator lead here next to the meter. Every time I hook up this alternator, I get a power surge. Now if I leave it connected, the meter goes back to 0, at least as far as my 2 decimal places go. But by the fact this keeps drawing power every time I hook it up, means it's got to have some kind of small load on it at all times. If you're driving a vehicle every once in a while, it's probably no problem. If you leave it parked for weeks on end, that could be an issue. I moved the alternator lead from the always on side to the switch side. That alternator is only hooked up when I have this main battery switch on. When I turn this battery switch off, it disconnects the alternator also. Got my meter hooked up again. Not seeing any power draw when I hook this up.
Still charges fine when the power's on.
Now, all I have to do, engine battery's off, inverter, turns off the inverter and the other alternator. So that problem should be solved. Now with all the things that are leaking and dripping in this bus, you'd think draining the water tanks would be easy. That one won't drain. I've got the red stuff or the RV antifreeze in there from winterizing it. Now it's spring, I want to put fresh water in. I can't get this tank to drain. There's a valve for draining it, and the tube goes straight to the valve, but it's not coming out. So now I need to figure out where the clog is. We'll just randomly take off hoses and see when water spills everywhere. That seems like a good idea. Looks like the end of the tank is clogged. Water comes out of the tube that connects to the other tank, but not this one. Oop, now it's coming out.
This pile of debris just got larger.
I'm gonna pull out the entire drain assembly and clean it. Oh, there's a chunk of something. Well, that looks a lot better.
At this point, it looked like all the things that were supposed to leak were, and all the things that weren't supposed to leak weren't. So it's time to hit the road.
Sometimes fueling up at small gas stations is a bit tricky. I think we'll get out of here though.
We decided to make the trip a little more interesting by taking a route that did not go straight there, and see a few things along the way. There's some very interesting things out in the middle of nowhere. It's hard to show from ground level. There are a lot of antennas out here over a huge area.
Alright, that's kind of neat. They have railroad tracks right there. All these antennas are on bases that can be moved down these railroad tracks to wherever you want them to go. There's a set of tracks perpendicular where they go off. They just turn and go that way. And I didn't expect them to just be humming. Must be adjusting motors or cooling fans or something.
We were having fun just cruising around on the bus. We had to make a stop when we came across Key Lime Lane, because there was pie. This is Pie Town, New Mexico, and they have a lot of pie. We found a spot with a table full of games, and then suddenly there was less pie. It was time to hit the road again. Finally, we found ourselves on the roads that lead to the mine. But of course I didn't have a parking spot ready, so I had to pull out Oliver and make one. There were just a few things in the way. And then the spot needed to get a little more level.
Got a reasonable place to park. One of my boots got some unintended waterproofing. my brand new hose. Not supposed to do that when they're new. Yeah, I'm really getting tired of new stuff I buy being bad right out of the box. This is on a different vehicle. My mom's CRV had a misfire, and the old cap and rotor were totally roasted. I figured I'll put a new one on and maybe that'll help. The brand new cap didn't actually fit the distributor. One of the bolt holes was molded in the wrong spot. It wouldn't even actually fit in the hole. If you tighten down this bolt, it just deformed the plastic and ruined the cap. And this didn't help at all. Come to find out, it looks like the spark plugs were leaking. And it sure looks like combustion gases were coming right out the side. I went and replaced them with some used ones I had in my spark plug bin. Ran fine then. With the brand new plugs, misfired all over the place. All 4 cylinders. But enough about reasons to hoard used parts. Let's get back to that hose issue. These came from the Surplus Center, which is the best prices I've found yet.
I've been buying stuff from them for over 20 years and haven't had a problem yet. I called them up, they sent out a replacement right away, and said, wait till I replace it, and they'll cover return shipping on the old one back.
But this video is about that bus. Let's get it parked. Did the tire spin?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this video. The bus is in a good position for the summer in a nice cool area. So when it gets too hot down there, we can drive up here and we got a place to stay for a couple days. I'm done with this project for now. Now I just get to enjoy it here. I got other projects to work on over there. So I have a different kind of fun next. Hope you guys are having fun too, and we'll see you next time. First step, meat on fire. Or about run electricity later.